I'm gonna say one word, and I want you to say the first word that comes to mind when you hear it.
Okay.
Psychic.
Cats.
Superhero. Blessing. Fake.
Pineapples.
My roommate. Purple.
Professor Xavier.
All-knowing, probably phony.
Tarot cards.
Based on a Gallup poll by David Moore, 75% have at least one paranormal belief, and 1 in 5 claim to have seen a ghost. The idea of the paranormal has been around since the beginning of man. Psychologists have come up with something called animalistic psychology. This is the study of human behavior and experience connected with what is often called paranormal, with the assumption that there's nothing paranormal involved. Psychologist Chris French explains that maybe some of these paranormal forces are true. And if that's the case, then science more generally needs to get over its prejudice and just study these things like we would in any other part of the natural world. But on the other hand, if paranormal forces are false, we can learn a lot about human psychology by trying to figure out what is going on when they have these experiences. Psychologist David Robson wrote an article called "The Truth About the Paranormal." Some paranormal experiences are easily explainable based on faulty activity in the brain. Reports of poltergeist, which is invisibly moving objects, seems to be consistent with damage to certain regions of the right hemisphere that are responsible for visual processing. Out-of-body experiences are now accepted neurological phenomena, while certain visual illusions could confound the healthy brain and create mythical beings. Psychologists studying religion have long suspected that a belief in the paranormal can be a kind of shield from the even harsher truths of the world. Even so, most researchers agree that skeptics shouldn't be too critical of these people and their beliefs. I have interviewed someone who is a so-called psychic medium, so let's listen to what he has to say.
I consider myself a medium, which is a go-between or a conduit between the living realm that we all live in today and the dead side of life. And I talk to the dead. I can hear the dead. And but most of the time I have a translator or a kind of a moderator. It's my psychic guide. Some people may call them a guardian angel. But my guide helps translate, helps me communicate with those that visit me. Through my journey, I have had many from the other side come to visit me. So many, in fact, that I started keeping track of these visitations by doing drawings. And my intention was to capture all my visitors and maybe one day publish a book. I guess let me explain what I see the difference between a psychic and a medium. Frank Chottle recently published a book where he quoted John Edwards saying that a psychic perceives and a medium receives. So as a medium, they come to me. Before I go to sleep at night, I say a prayer of protection, and I also ask for visitors to come to see me, and because I enjoy this part of what I do, and so I always enjoy meeting new spirits that come to visit. So I went to bed and I said, please, you know, if somebody wants to come visit, I'm happy to talk with them. So one particular night, I woke up with a visitor that was standing on the opposite side of my bed, where my wife was sleeping, and it was an unusual vision, and it was bright red and white light. It was glowing. It was a human body, but I couldn't see above the head. I could see from the shoulders down to the torso. And what was fascinating was the body was wrapped in gauze. And it was wrapped and it was glowing red, and it stunned me. It woke me up and I was like, whoa, whoa, whoa. And then I calmed down and I said, oh yeah, you asked for this? So I calmed down and I said, who are you? And a voice answered, it's Maxine. Now, Maxine was my mother-in-law's name, who passed away back in the 90s. And she has come to visit several times over the years, where I was able to channel her with my family so that they could speak with her, and she could relay messages as well. So I was like, oh, Maxine, good to see you again. And I said, can I help you? And she said, I'm just fulfilling your request. And then she disappeared. So I thought, well, that's pretty cool. So I go to sleep, and the next day I get up, and my wife and I go to work, and we're in the same car together. And I said, hey, your mom came to visit last night. And my wife said, oh yeah, what'd she have to say? And I said, well, said she was fulfilling my request, but the unusual thing was that she was wrapped in this red gauze. And my wife got quiet, and we continued to drive on, and I said, what's wrong? And she said, why would my mom come back dressed like a mummy? And I said, I don't know. It was kind of placed in an artistic manner. So I said, maybe she was appealing to my artistic side. I don't know. So I drop her off and I go to work, and I meet a friend for lunch that day at a local pub. And my friend had just got back from a 2-week trip to France. And so he was very excited about being in France. And so, the first 3/4 of the lunch, that's all we talked about. And then he stopped and he said, so what's going on with you? Any new visitors? Because he knows that I have a lot of visitors. And I said, well, the funny thing you ask, I said, last night I had an unusual one. My mother-in-law came and she was wrapped in gauze. And he stopped and froze. And his mouth opened wide and he said, oh my God. I said, what? What? He goes, you're not gonna fucking believe this. I said, what? He said, you're not gonna believe this. I said, what? Tell me. He said, while he was in France, he and his wife went to a museum. And they toured the museum and left and went to the hotel. And the next day he got up, and their next appointment wasn't until the afternoon, so they had the morning to kill. And he said, you know what, to his wife, he said, you know what, I have to go back to this museum that we went to yesterday because I need to show Matt something. I said, me? He goes, yeah, I had this thought that you needed to see this. So he goes back to the museum, and there's this sculpture that he takes a picture with his phone. And he pulls his phone out and shows it to me. In the picture, it was a sculpture of like a human torso wrapped in red gauze. And we are just both stunned, chills running up and down our spine, going, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I look over his shoulder, and out of the bottles on the back of the bar came this face. And this face came out and was looking right at me and smiling. And it was my guide. And I looked at him, and he looked at me, and he said, gotcha.